Tuesday.
Be Tuesday.
So, today we're going to jump into the conversation around when it's time to abandon your product or service idea. A lot of the examples that we'll provide are around software because you have that unique ability to capture metrics in a way that allow you to triangulate your metrics with your engagement with customers. And this is an interesting one to me, as they always are. But this one is especially interesting in terms of the work that we've done with clients to
Mhm.
help them figure out what's going on with their software application. They want to move the needle in terms of improving the experience, and in that process, they lack the focus on whether or not their software product, is actually still a viable thing that they should continue to work on, or is it time to abandon ship and move on to something new?
Yes, right. And let's not forget pivot. So that's another one. A lot of times it's an abandon, maybe it's just not working. Or you need a pretty hard pivot, right? You may be on to something, but the research shows kind of shift gears a little bit and rethink that roadmap and what you're doing. So, yes, one of our favorite topics, I think. And it can also apply for big features. I think of a project recently where it was about a really big new feature that they wanted to, spend a year on, to really build out, maybe more. And was that the right place? Was that the right thing to chase? Was that going to move the needle or help with that retention? And we'll probably get into it, but it turns out we discovered no, it is not. All the people abandoning are still probably going to abandon because it wasn't the key change that was needed. To spend all your resources and time on that.
Exactly. And when you think about having a line of sight into making those decisions to either abandon or pivot, in a lot of cases, that is what can support that decision in a
Yes.
more proactive fashion before you've wasted too much time and money, is to have a research roadmap that is ahead of your product roadmap,
Yes.
but to also ensure that you're keeping abreast on what your competition is doing. And when you think about those big new features that you want to deploy, is it that you're just utilizing positive feedback as the means to make that decision, or
Yes.
have those customers and prospects given up some sort of currency to
Yes.
say, I actually want to invest in, being a part of getting this new solution or new feature, or are they just telling you what you want to hear?
Yes, exactly. And that does happen, right? I'm glad you brought up the whole currency issue. And this is really important. I've worked on a lot of startup products, as well as us working with startup companies or that they have a startup project. And they may have usability sessions with early wireframes, product management, talking to customers. Yay, yay, yay. We love it. We love it. You spend all your money and resources building it, and then flat, nothing happens or not enough to be sustainable. So I think that whole research, go back to some of the lean experimentation. It's not just experimenting to hear where they give you pats on the back and lots of feedback. You want that positive feedback, but you got to get that currency, whatever that may be, which can vary depending on the situation. I've worked on startup projects where the currency was you're experimenting with, some messaging out there geared around what the product is, kind of the core parts of the project. Well, I mean, until you ask people, hey, give me something, whether that's a cheap trial membership or give me your email or phone number and we'll contact you when this happens. that can be a form of currency because people are maybe a little more serious or interested when they give that. If they're not willing to do that, then you just have, nice words. Again, they're good. Um, but let's figure out early on, let's abandon things that just aren't resonating where you get that currency.
Yeah, and when you think about the play around understanding the what of your experience and your solution, uh, when you have instrumentation or analytics enabled that allow you to see from a quantitative
Yep.
performance standpoint, where are users and prospects abandoning the
Hmm.
experience? Where are they dropping off or bouncing? Those allow you to find areas of focus in your conversations and your exploration.
Yep.
And in some cases, what we found is in that pivot decision, part of it was that what object your user follows through the system and everything kind of hangs off of or
Yep. Yep.
supports is the wrong object. And
Yep.
you talked about this numerous times around project management software versus the ability to capture billing
Yep.
related to that project and how that was a more important component of the application.
Exactly. And that was a case where, the focus was on kind of the management piece of things while ignoring the billing. The data and the currency, when comparing the two, did show it. So, the best bet in that situation was to abandon where it was going, which was a priority, a big focus on the management piece of it, project management piece of it, and make billing secondary when all the currency said no. Make billing first. The best bet was to either, maybe not abandon, but certainly do a very hard pivot and abandon that as being your central tenet to what your product was. That was a perfect example of that happening. And I know you're probably going to mention the competitive analysis piece of things. That was another, bit of information being ignored. Was, yeah, there was all this great feedback. You think you're a big monster company, just this little competitor out there in the market. Well, you better take a close look at them because the world's kind of changed. You don't have to be a tech giant anymore. The little startups are out there. They're kind of eager. They're doing experimentation pretty consistently. And don't underestimate them being able to still your business or grow theirs while you're stagnant. Yeah.
Essentially grab market share that you did not think they could because you're a more established brand and that sort of thing. And in that circumstance, you may continue to plug along and kind of pull what you can in terms of new customers or new business, not recognizing that their growth in terms of market share. And this is where you have to focus on that competitive intelligence and that pulse on what's going on
Yep.
outside of your development.
Exactly. And that's where that currency is important too. If you're already, if your competitors are ahead of you, you better have a solid idea of what's going to distinguish you based on, capturing that currency on your ideas so that you know where you can move for your organization. But I really, really think a lot of people forget about those competitive analyses, or they underestimate the danger of their competition and how they can disrupt. They can disrupt things. They can disrupt markets. So have your eye on what's going on.
Yeah, and I don't think we touched enough on the fact that this means that you have to start with some sort of benchmark or baseline
Yep.
to say, this is our goal. If we don't achieve or reach these goals, we've got to evaluate. And if you were to look at the order of things in terms of this kind of abandon or pivot decision,
Yep.
it starts with that qualitative data that you're seeing in your experimentation and your analytics. That data then gives you a place to focus
Yep.
and to also recognize that there might be some red flags to address. And then that allows you to go into that more, quantitative effort around doing some interviews through your research roadmap, or, looking at how do we adjust our experimentation to get new data to
Yep.
help us validate whether or not we can move the needle or not. And, you have to have some sort of strategy around all of this. This is not just we did usability testing, we got really rave reviews, we should keep going. You've got to triangulate all of these things. And you've got to have someone in a UX strategy role that's looking at this. So this is not just your hardcore, I have a UX researcher, I have a designer, the two of them can meet in the middle and figure this out. This has to be someone in a role or with the lens of a strategic lens,
Yep.
who's able to not only understand what to look at in the data, in the activities, in helping to define those benchmarks, but also that they're able to help you make smart decisions based
Yep.
on the insights that you capture.
Right. Yeah, you have to be. I think that's one of the hardest things in the world to do is the abandon piece. And it may not be, it just happens. Oh, we have this one piece of data. It doesn't look good. We're out of here. No, there are a lot of factors, you consider. But when the data is telling you you're not going to get movement and you're not getting that currency, then you really do need to make that hard decision. So anyhow, and or the pivot.
And that requires that you've also got some sort of rigor around milestones or check-ins for all of these different, either data collection, data analysis, but that you have these milestones baked in that allow you to say, let's bring together the right stakeholders, and we are going to have go no go conversations about the overall, product, and whether or not we should continue, or we say no, we're not going to put any more time and money into this solution, and we've got to say it's time to put it to rest.
Yep. Yep. And that research roadmap, that's why it becomes so important. Right. You need to stay ahead of that. So when those pivot moments come, when those abandoned, maybe at a future level moments come,
Exactly.
and stay ahead. Don't wait. Don't wait until it's too late and you've dumped a bunch of money and effort and things.
Exactly. So just to recap, think about the instrumentation or analytics that you have that allow you to look at some of that quantitative data around usage, bounce rates, abandon rates, that sort of thing. Think about the fact that you need more than just positive feedback. Will people align their say do in terms of them saying they like your solution, but they're also willing to give something up in order to confirm that satisfaction. Don't underestimate your competition, and make sure that as you build, you're keeping a pulse on who your competitors are and their performance, and make sure you have that research roadmap that is ahead of your product roadmap, that allows you to perform these and other activities to ensure that you don't get too comfortable in doing the work and not looking up and saying, okay, let's make sure that we've baked in those milestones to have the tough conversations on persevere, pivot, or abandon.
Yep. And don't panic because you have to, change your plans, use the data. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much again for listening today. Have an